How's it going, everyone? College Lefty, and in this video, I'm going to be ranking the top 5 players at each position in MLB The Show 22. So let's go ahead and get right into it. And we are going to have a few players that are tied for that 6th/5th position. And here we have a couple of examples to start it off in Corey Lee, Luis Campusano, and Shea Langeliers. I think that these 3 catchers are pretty solid. You can't go wrong with any of these 3, and a couple of the other guys have some secondary positions, so I think they have some value. But coming in at number 4, I think Henry Davis is just more of a complete player. He does have great contact, great power. The arm strength is probably the most important attribute along with blocking in terms of catchers. Gary Carter is another one that I think is lower on a lot of people's lists. I like this card. I think he plays really well, and he is really good against lefties, of course. I use Gary Carter on my bench. I think Jorge Posada is more of a complete catcher, right? You don't have to platoon with them if you're not doing that well with Gary Carter against righties. I think Joe Mauer is the number 1 catcher, and Jorge Posada is right behind him. Even though Jorge is only at a 91 overall, he plays really, really well. Coming in at number 5 in terms of first baseman, we have Michael Toglia. A lot of people flame me for my ranking on that card in the Future Star program. I think there are other first basemen that are better, but as far as a switch-hitting first baseman, definitely on the list. We have Albert Pujols at number 4. He'll be making another appearance on this list. Frank Thomas at number 3. I typically don't hit well with guys that are extremely tall in the game, right? 6'5", 6'6". That's why I don't typically use Frank Thomas. I think Carlos Delgado is a little bit better. I also like his no-doubt animation. I like the way he plays in the game. But Babe Ruth, to me, is the best first baseman that you can have right now. And, right, of course, they're going to come out with more cards. They're going to have some of these cards get upgraded in terms of a 99 Babe Ruth later on. Now we'll get into some second basemen. And I wanted to put Brady House on there just because I think he's a pretty good option. I wouldn't necessarily use him at second base. I'd probably use him more at third base. Bryson Stott at number 6. I would probably use him at his primary position of shortstop. I think Mookie Betts is more of a second baseman than an outfielder, but also a great outfielding option. Gunnar Henderson at number 4. I think this card has a lot of value, and he would also be on the list for shortstops. So you'll kind of see a couple of those things happening. Justin Foscue, I definitely think this card is really good. A pure power hitter with gold defense and a really quick two-handed swing. I still think Ketel Marte is a little bit better, and I also think Ketel Marte plays best at either second base or shortstop, right? Ketel Marte could really be on this list for all of those positions that he plays. I think that's how good he is. But number 1, Chase Utley, definitely the best second baseman in the game, all-around player. And now we'll get into shortstops, and I think Brady House is at the number 6/number 5 positional ranking for shortstop. And that's why I ranked that card so high up, is because he's pretty valuable at multiple positions. Same type of thing with Oswald Peraza. I just didn't think he had enough power. But this card surprised me. When I tried him out, he's very good. I think he's definitely on the list at that number 6 or number 5. At number 4 for shortstops, Bryson Stott. Another surprising card that has a really good swing in the game. Number 3, Fernando Tatis. We do have some live series cards in this ranking list. I still think live series cards are really valuable because they have the active quirks. But at number 2, Gunnar Henderson, really good shortstop, more of an all-around player in terms of defense, doesn't have as much speed as Tatis, of course. But Khalil Watson, the most complete shortstop out of this group. I think he is one of the best options. Of course, the creative player, in my opinion, is the best option at shortstop. For third baseman, we have Miguel Cabrera coming in at number 6/number 5, an 88 overall card, but a really good 88 overall hitting card at that. At number 6 and number 5, again, we have Troy Glaus. He kind of falls under the category of a really tall player that I've never really used just because of that. I don't think I would do that well with him. I personally like Hank Aaron a little bit more, and he doesn't have, as much power, but the contact attribute is there. I like his swing a little bit better, and he plays a great third base. Albert Pujols could play either first or third base. I don't think you would want to use this card in the outfield. I certainly wouldn't because he's just not fast enough. But number 2, Brett Baty. If you don't have George Brett, I think this card is a must pick at third base. I think you have to have this guy in your lineup. He will be pretty cheap on the marketplace as well. But of course, number 1, George Brett. I wouldn't really consider this guy a first baseman just because if you put him over there, you're kind of wasting his great fielding, his great power, when there are other first basemen that I talked about earlier that I would probably use over him over there. But Kirk Gibson at number 11, I don't know if I should have even added him to the list. We're getting into the outfielders, and I think some of these outfielders are very valuable, right? Of course, you need to have good defense, good speed out there in the outfield, but these guys just don't have as much power as someone who I would like out there. Josh Lowe, I would probably rank a little bit higher. He's more of a complete player, right? Lower contact attributes, better power, great diamond defense, and good speed. Garrett Mitchell, I think, is just a little bit better than Josh Lowe. I don't really think the margin between some of these future star cards is that significant, right? A lot of these guys are really good. A lot of them are very similar. I think Reggie Jackson is slightly better than the previous guys at number 6. Aaron Judge is an extremely tall player. I wouldn't use him, but I know he is very good. Coming in at number 5, this card would play. If there's one guy that is 6+ or 6'5+, that would be good for me. It would be Aaron Judge, most likely. Austin Hendrick coming in at number 4, definitely a solid outfielder. I think he's the best future star outfielder in the game. Ronald Acuna at number 3. This card, to me, I probably have a little bit of a biased opinion. I really like that Acuna card. Even though he has lower contact, he gets the job done, and he has those active quirks. Roberto Clemente coming in at number 2. Solid all-around player. Arguably could be at number 1. But I got to go with Mike Trout at number 1. This card is absolutely incredible. I mean, he's always one of the best cards in the game for a very long time, and I think he he might be the best all-around card in the game. But we get into starting pitchers here. Mike Mussina at number 6/number 5. I just don't think his hits per 9 is good enough, especially on the lower difficulties. I don't think he'd be on the list. Roy Halladay, number 6 or number 5. I think this card is a little bit better than what I was expecting, but still not as good as what I had hoped. Number 4, Tom Glavine. I think this card is really good. He has some of the best control in the entire game. Really good lefty with a sinker. Coming in at number 3, Bobby Miller. This card, just speaks for himself. He has outlier. You might even have him ranked at number 2, maybe slightly above Corbin Burns. But I personally like Corbin Burns. He does have the meta pitches in the cutter, the sinker. He has outlier on the sinker. He's got great control on a good amount of his pitches there. The curveball is probably his worst pitch, but it still has some good break, and it gets the job done. At number 1, Randy Johnson. Of course, it's Randy Johnson, the big unit, best pitcher in the entire game, and I think he will be the best pitcher throughout the game cycle, depending on if they give, retro finest cards just crazy numbers. But number 9, Aaron Loop, and you might think to yourself a silver card. You might even have him ranked higher than this Aroldis Chapman. Aroldis Chapman is very good. He's at number 8, just doesn't have as high of control as I would like. That's where he kind of gets himself into trouble. John Franco, number 7. I think this card is a really good relief pitcher. I've only used him a little bit, but he does have a very quick motion. So if you're using pinpoint, you have to be moving that right stick very quickly around in a circle. Josh Hader, same type of thing. Very quick motion. Also very good with the 120+ hits per 9. We have Johan Duran at number 5 and an 87 overall card. But because he has outlier on the fastball and the splitter, that card is really effective, especially on Hall of Fame and Legend difficulty. Coming in at number 4, Devin Williams. I think this card is a hit or miss. He has extreme break on all 4 of his pitches, but can be a little bit wild at times, and that can get him into some trouble. Kenley Jansen at number 3, a cutter-sinker combination with a good slider. I think Zach Britton is the number 2 best relief pitcher in the game. Even though he really only has a sinker, slider, and 2-seam, I wouldn't really use the 4-seam with him. But Steve Cishek coming in at number 1 in terms of best relievers in the entire game. I really think this card is insane. Because of his motion, that sinker looks like it's coming in at like 100 miles per hour. And I just think that card plays way above his attributes. But now we get into the utility players. We have Chris Bryant at number 4. That's a free card that you can get through the program. Same thing here. Taylor Ward at number 3. Just some honorable mentions, some utility guys. And I would really only use like 1 or 2 of these guys on my ranked season squad. Austin Martin at number 2 and Ketel Marte at number 1. Probably the best utility player in the entire game, and will be until he gets, a better version of his card. But that's really going to do it for this video. Those are the top 5 players at each position, in my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Until next time, peace out.